quite easy for me. Hi everyone, I'm Evangeline O'Dowd. I did Law and American Studies as my undergraduate degree, and then I went on to do the LPC combined with an LLM, and I just graduated last year.
Last year being?
November of 2019.
Okay. Would you like to tell us your hometown?
So I grew up in a small town in Kerry in Ireland, and now I currently reside in Swansea.
So that would make you an international or EU student?
So that would make me an EU student.
Okay. Could you tell us about Legally Evangeline?
So Legally Evangeline is a little blog that I decided to create a few months back, and it's basically a blog that assists upcoming solicitors or barristers or legal professionals to achieve their dream placements, and to also provide them with an insight into like mental well-being while you're at uni, as well as like uni modules and my overall uni experience.
Could you remind us of the course you took at university?
So I did Law and American Studies.
Why did you choose your course?
Okay, so for me, it was a bit different. I always knew I wanted to do the American aspect, but I didn't know really how to combine it into law. So when I started looking at courses, I found the Law and American Studies course, but unfortunately they didn't have it in Ireland, or they didn't have it available at the time anywhere in Ireland. So I knew that I'd have to move over to the UK in order to, undertake it. So that's really how I found my course.
Did you do a 3-year or 4-year course?
Okay, so I originally opted to do the 4-year course with a 3-year placement in America. However, in my second year, maybe my first year, I decided that I didn't want to go to America. I wanted to go to America after my university. So I opted then to go back down to the 3-year course.
Could you tell us what you thought about the course over the 3 years?
Okay, so my experience was really, really good overall. The diversity in the modules was something that was really amazing. We spoke briefly earlier about how, as well as like your simple contract law, your EU law, I was also studying stuff like American culture and literature, international politics of space, and that really broadened my horizons in terms of, giving me different career options if I decided at the end not to opt for the legal career. And I think the diversity was something that was amazing. Also, my lecturers were incredible. They really provided such a great support network throughout my uni experience.
Okay. Did you come from a sixth form or a college background?
So I came from an Irish background, so it's a tiny bit different. It would be kind of the equivalent of your GCSEs would be the Irish or the Irish Junior Cert, and your A levels would be the Irish Leaving Cert. So it's kind of on a point system, whereas the points that you get kind of declare what university you get to go to.
What subjects did you take while at the A-level equivalent in Ireland?
Okay, so it's a bit different again from the UK. I believe that you've got like law and other modules like similar that kind of correlate to the course. We don't really have anything like that. So I opted to do ones that I had an interest in, solely because I thought that having an interest in a module would allow you to, delve deep into it and like get the best grades that you possibly can because you're interested in the subject. So I opted for business studies, music, and then I did all 3 sciences, but I dropped physics in my second year of like the 2-year kind of part.
Did any of these subjects help you with your course?
They helped me in different ways. They all gave me something different in terms of like the music side gave me a bit of a social aspect in terms when I went to uni. Business studies was the most useful because it's great to see how a business operates in any way. So like looking to the university as how it operates as a business was quite interesting. And when it came to, I don't know, like doing taxes and stuff like that, I guess that's really helpful as well. And then my sciences, I don't think my sciences massively helped in any way, but I enjoyed taking them.
What do you think the best A-level equivalent / subjects are for your course?
For my, I got asked this question a while back, and I don't think there's any really ones that will help you. I know some of my friends did law for A levels, and that kind of helped them in their first year. But I think it gives you a bit of a false perception because you kind of go into first year thinking you know everything, and that can sometimes give you a laxy-daisy attitude in terms of when it comes to sitting exams. And I think going in with a fresh mind, being completely open and starting afresh is something that really helped me to get a good grounding of each subject, you know, rather than going in thinking I knew about the subject. So I think just doing subjects that you really have an interest in, and just going in with a fresh, clean slate.
Could you remind us of the university you studied while at university?
So I went to Swansea University.
Can you tell us the best and worst things about studying at Swansea University? Starting off with the worst.
Okay, the worst things, off the bat, it's a non-Russell Group university. So when it comes to applying for jobs, and when it comes like work experience and everything like that, it can sometimes put you at a disadvantage. I know, well, I'm speaking about law firms now. A lot of them now don't require you to be, you know, you to come from a non-Russell Group. It's really the skills that you gained that you can transfer. So that would be the worst thing for me. The best thing would definitely be the location. It's right on the beach, and it's just a great place that you can, you know, separate your academic side and your social life. So you can really, you know, relax down there. And for me, it was the beach is like my happy place, my safe place. So that was one of the best. Again, I mentioned that the lecturers, the rapport that I created with the lecturers and all the members of staff, they were so, you know, any problem that I ever had, be it, you know, outside of uni, if I was just feeling down or upset, I had a mentor that I could go to whatever time of the day and just walk into her office and say, look, do you want a cup of tea? And like, she was one of the head of the law school, like the head of the law school. And it was just, that whole support network was really, really what set it apart from other universities, I believe.
If we go into Swansea accommodation, where did you stay in your first year?
In my first year, I stayed in halls. As I mentioned before, I came over as an EU student. So that was the best bet for me because I didn't really know, you know, I didn't know the surrounding area as such. So I stayed in a resident called Penmine. It was one of the more expensive residents, but I think for what you get, it sounds expensive. But in terms of like it was quite new when I went, and you know, everything was kind of fresh. And I didn't actually opt to choose Penmine. I don't know if it's with the same with all unis, but you put your halls in preference, and then you kind of get assigned before. So that's how I got assigned. That's where I was my first year. And then come my second year, I went
Just before you start your second year, what was it like living there? So like with the experience, was it good, bad?
So it was good. I got actually put into an international flat. So I made some good friends there, and I actually made like good friends that were across the hall. This was like a self-catered residence as well. And it was pretty standard. I mean, it was an ensuite bath, but you had your own ensuite. And it was a pretty small room, but it had everything that I needed. I'm trying to think what else. No, I think that's everything from my first year.
Second year?
And my second year, I moved to a house, and I moved up to a place called Uplands, and it was a quite cheap, a cheap place to live. The only downside was you had to climb up a hill on your way back from uni, which after a couple of hours lecture is not the best. But it was about 15, I'd say 15, 20 minutes away from my university. An amazing place. It had like little shops close by. It had like a hairdresser's, a Tesco, everything that you kind of needed for your staples. And that was really nice. It was a house I was in with another girl, and it was just a normal house.
What was it like transitioning from student halls to a house?
That was quite easy for me. I actually think that, you know, I loved living on campus because you're right next to all the buildings that you need to go to lectures. So it's quite hard in terms of adapting to, you know, getting up maybe an hour before your lectures and like actually walking there and preparing yourself mentally. So that was quite difficult, especially in the rain and everything, because I didn't get a bus. I used to just walk everywhere. But in terms of like the environment, I enjoyed it more because I could separate my uni from like relaxing when it came to the evenings. You know, and like I left all my work in uni. and the house was really like a place that I could, read a book or catch up with my housemate. And I think that's what really helped, maintain a positive mental attitude.
If we go into the area, could you tell us about the nightlife?
The nightlife is great. So we have a strip called Wine Street, and it's one long strip. It's got all the bars and clubs and restaurants on it, and it's really super, super cheap. Like I'm talking about £1 drinks on a Wednesday. So
What's the club for you?
the club for me, oh, that's a tricky one. I loved Idols. Sometimes it has long queues, but that would definitely be the one for me. And then after Idols, you have to go Fiction,
Have to go to
just
Fiction.
because that's the way it works. But yes.
Compared to Ireland, what are the shops and food restaurants like? Is it the same with like you've got popular shops, have you got local shops, or is it a good mix?
Okay, so Ireland, I live in a really, really rural part of Ireland where it's 40 minutes drive to the nearest shop, and we don't really have a lot of chains as such. We're starting to get chains now, but it's more local businesses. So for me, having, the city centre has everything that you need in terms of clothing shops, in terms of, like bakeries, shoe shops, everything that you possibly need. So it was a lot different for me because I was like in seventh heaven, like shopping in retail shops, and it just being like a 5-minute drive. But yeah, it was great.
What general advice would you give to students about to study university?
Okay. About to study university, I would say be yourself. Don't change for anyone, because university, there's a huge mix of people and it's very easy to lose yourself in that. Again, I'd say develop a good relationship with your uni professors and lecturers and just general members of staff, because you're going to be with them for the next 3, 4. I mean, in my case, I was there almost 5 years. So having a good relationship to start with is always great, because you never know who you're going to need or whose help you're going to need. I would say to try a lot of societies. And I know it can be quite daunting in terms of, going and meeting new people, but that's really how I found my little niche. So I tried a huge array of activities while I was in uni. And like I'm still friends with them to this day. And in terms of law, one last thing I want to say is I didn't know this, and it would have been a huge help had I have known it, but to apply for training contracts starting in your first year, and don't leave it till last minute like I did, because remember that a lot of firms recruit 2 years in advance. So I wish someone would have told me that.
What advice would you give to students about to study your course?
My course, for me, joining the JLD Society in Swansea was pretty much life-changing for me, I think, because you're talking to like-minded people, you're immersing yourself in the direction that you want your career to head. So that for me is something that I wish someone would have told me in my first year, would be to join the Junior Lawyers Division Society. And that was something. And as well, for me, I think I prioritized law more than I did the American Studies side. So just to remember that the two of them are equally as important as each other. So maybe try and balance the American Studies side more, or equal amounts, I want to say. And that would really help, to kind of boost your grades a bit higher and get the most out of the experience that you possibly can.
Finally, what advice would you give to students about to study your course?
About my course,
Course.
again, the American Studies side, I think, would be something that I
The
can,
rehash.
both of them can relate back to the course.
Okay.
And in terms of Swansea, then I would say maybe to take advantage of the number 8 bus, because that is something it will take you anywhere that you want to go. So look out for the number 8 bus, because it's a great tool in Swansea University. And again, the JLD Society, that's the two things that I would say.
Okay. You chose coming to study in the UK versus an apprenticeship / going right into work / studying in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
What path do you to make this choice?
Being completely honest, my only thought is that I didn't really know anything about an apprentice at all. No one told me about it. I didn't know that that was even a career choice. It was always leave school, go to university, that's it. Looking back and reflecting back, I still would have done the same route, especially for law. It's quite important that you get your law degree and you then can go on to do the LPC. I'm not even sure if you can do an apprentice into law. That's something that I have to look up. But for me, I would say that I benefited immensely from, going straight into university.
Okay. Could you tell us more about Legally Angeline?
Legally Evangeline.
Legally of Angeline, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so again, pretty much similar to this platform, I found that when I went to university, that no one told me about it. I felt very on my own, even though I knew everyone was going into university. I came from a household where my sister went to dance school and went to a really reputable dance college. But there wasn't really anyone that had gone like through maybe, the legal side. And I felt that I didn't have anyone to speak to. So I decided to, after I finished uni, I felt like it was almost my duty to give back to the community that really gave me so much and really put me in such a good position. So I decided to write a blog about everything that I wish I would have known looking back. Kind of a lot of stuff that we spoke about today in terms of training contracts, in terms of, really looking after your mental health and looking after your body and, joining the societies, really putting yourself out there just to get the most out of it. I know a lot of first year students are very shy and timid, and a lot of them unfortunately can close themselves off in a room and think that there's no more then that's all you have to do is work. So it's really trying to find that perfect balance between working life and getting the most out of your uni experience in terms of meeting people, doing activities. And that's why I set up Legally Evangeline.
Where can students find you?
So you can find me on Instagram. It's Legally Evangeline. You can also find me on legallyEvangeline.com. My LinkedIn is Evangeline O'Dowd, so you can reach out to me on there if you want. And I think that's everywhere.
What can students expect to see when they find your platform? It's like, what kind of post do you post? Although you said, obviously, you're giving back to see what you study and everything, can you tell us exactly what we're coming to see when we come on your platform?
Okay, so when you open my blog, you will see, I kind of like to divide it into university experience, and then furthering on, which is the stage that I'm at now, is your career. So you can see, like, I've broken it down into like first, second, third year. And obviously it's quite a new platform, so I'm still adding to it constantly. But all the breakdowns between like module choice, how to, things that I wish I knew in first year, application advice, cover letter advice, applying for training contracts, and then life in general. Like, we as young lawyers have to suffer with, rejection's a very real part of our journey, and there's no point shadowing and hiding behind, this perfect life, because that's not what the legal career is. So it's very much looking into the bad side as well as the good, but taking positives out of the bad so that it doesn't feel quite as overwhelming as it did for me when I had no advice.
You said you graduated last year, November.
Yes.
So we are just under a year when it comes to you being out of university. What is life like after university? And do you use your degree first?
Okay.
Do you use your degree what you're currently working?
So straight off the bat, I always said I wanted to go to America. So when I finished university, I went and did a 6-month internship in central Manhattan. And that was directly related to my degree in terms of I was a paralegal, and I was using everything that I needed from the LPC and from my degree. And then it hit a point where I'm at now, where I came back from America and coronavirus set in. So the legal industry has taken quite a battering. They're letting go of a lot of people rather than hiring people on. So I've really tried to use this time to not only look for jobs and like hunt for jobs and whatnot, but really, bettering myself in terms of upskilling. I'm doing a lot of online courses. I'm channeling a lot of my time into my blog, and doing internships online, connecting with people, and a lot of the applications. So there's pretty much two main application cycles in the year. And one of them is upcoming in September. So I've been getting all my applications ready, and kind of preparing as much as I can. So that's how I've really been using my time.
And what is life like after university? Is it straight out the bat, how they say? It's just you get no job, no nothing, it's scary, or is there a bit of structure to it?
For me, I found the transition quite difficult. I'm not going to lie. It was almost like, when you start university, it's like you're thrown in the deep end and it's like, well, what do I do now? When I left university, I was kind of at that stage where I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? But saying that, I had a great support network. So they kind of really sat down and like helped to, push me through it. And for law as well, it's quite a set structure. So you do your law degree, you normally do your LPC. I mean, there are other options. This is just the way that I did it. I did my law degree, did the LPC combined with my master's, and then it's pretty much go into a training contract, qualify in a firm, and then you're a solicitor in the world your oyster. So knowing that I had that structure was great to keep me motivated, because it wasn't suddenly like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I kind of already have a set structure.
Okay. At this point, I let students have what I like to call a free for all. You can say what you like about what you want. You could give advice. You could say thank you. You could act through your acts. You could tell a story. Literally, the floor is yours.
I guess just to kind of, look back on first year, I would say it sounds so cliche saying it, but I fell into a loophole of trying to fit myself around the people around me. And I kind of dulled my personality in some backwards attempt to fit in. And I wasted a good few months trying to do that. And so when I kind of spoke to a lecturer, well, that mentor that I was speaking about earlier. I spoke to her and I said that, I wasn't feeling like I was portraying my whole self. And she really offered some great advice, which was, you've only got this experience once in your life. And what do you want people to remember you by? And what do you want people to remember you as? And when she kind of said that, I was like, I want them to remember me for me, like I'm chatty, I'm like quite outspoken. And so I feel that was one big regret, that I kind of wasted my first few months trying to fit in when, like there was no point in doing that. So just be open, be yourself. And that's how you'll really find your niche of people that will hopefully be with you for the rest of your life. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'm plugged in.
Amazing. Thank you.